So I'm sorry I'm absent, guys, but I'm just going to walk you through all the resources that you have to get you started on the college essay. Um, we have already talked about prompts, right? And you know that you're supposed to upload your prompt whenever you have that done. It looks like a couple people at this point on Monday morning have. The due date isn't until Wednesday, so I know some of you are still thinking, and that's perfectly fine for this part in the process. I do want to help you understand some resources that are available to you. So I need to move my screen here for a second. I'm going to view a student right now while we're in Canvas. When you go to the file section of Canvas, you're going to notice that the college essay file folder is now open. You're going to get several handouts today from the sub. So one of those is college essay prompt advice right here. This just kind of walks you through what I already told you on Friday, but it reminds you that you have to have a prompt that is asking you to write at least 300 words minimum in the text of your response. So if you're looking at one and it says, oh, you just need 150 words or 100 words, skip, go to a different prompt. So again, if you know what school you want to go to, check those out first. If you don't know what school you want to go to, this is still a good time to do a little background research. This is a website from the College Board that I like a lot called The Big Future. The College Board is the program that puts together the AP tests and the SAT tests. There's Zello. You have the link in Google Classroom if you need it. I saw some of you on there on Friday. Remember that if you figure out that your school needs the Common App or the Coalition app, which is similar, it's just a different set of schools, you can easily Google search those. Just make sure you tell me exactly which prompt number you're looking for. If you've already applied to college, then you might want to look for some scholarships. This is kind of where we left off on Friday. And so some of you might have spent the weekend trying to look for college essays, look for scholarship essays, and maybe you've come up short. In that case, I do have two more suggestions for you that at the very least will allow you to get your assignment done in class here, even if you don't necessarily have a specific prompt that you're trying to write for at the moment. One of those places is the University of Chicago. The University of Chicago prides themselves on having kind of weird, goofy, creative prompts. So if you're itching to try something unique, go here. But I am going to say that some students do not love these prompts, right? And they are not necessarily easier. The University of Chicago is a top tier school. This is like the equivalent of the Ivy League. And so they really are looking for higher level thinking. So if you get to this list of prompts and you're like, I hate all of these, then skip down to the next bullet. The bottom one is a link to a website from the New York Times that lists, I know it kind of looks like it's 445 prompts. Let's see if we can actually get to it here. I don't know if it'll let me. Okay, it won't let me click since I'm in student view. But when you guys are there, you can click on any of these. These will be live links. Anyway, it takes you to a website that is curated by the New York Times that offers 600 different personal narrative writing prompts. So even if one of the essays that you've chosen is just like, write about whatever you want, well, that's terrifying. So you might want to go to this list. What's nice about it is it's not just a list in a row of 600 topics. They categorize them. So you've got prompts about work experience, you've got prompts about personality, you've got prompts about future plans, you've got prompts about your use of technology. Like, I think there's probably 20 different categories and tons of prompts underneath each one of those categories. So if you absolutely can't find one that you're willing to write on here, then you're really just sort of being obstinate, I think. Some students, when they get to these prompts, they're a little bit like confused, because when you go to it, it links you to, like, they're basically all in question form, and then you click on it in question form. They're always tied to like a previous writer's experience, kind of writing about the same topic, just to get your ideas flowing. So please don't feel like you have to do something similar to those writings or like answer the prompt questions at the bottom. Really use it more as like a ready-made springboard into a potential place to start thinking about ideas. So when we look at the writing process checklist, remember that your pre-writing and your rough drafting should not have any AI involved. But what's nice about this list from the New York Times is this kind of gives you the same sort of help that AI would, except it legitimately comes from educators that work for the New York Times. And so it's not collective human advice like an AI chatbot. It's legit individual advice with samples included, so that you can kind of see how you might approach the question that's being asked there. So anyway, step 1 is your prompt. And remember, you're going to turn that prompt choice in here. Once you're done with the prompt choice, then you need to go into the pre-writing. And so by Monday morning when you're watching this video, this will be open and available to you. And the system is going to work exactly like it did for the maturity memoir. You're going to have to show me physical evidence of your pre-writing, time-stamped, before you begin the rough drafting process. So that's why if we would look at the deadlines and due dates here, I have this deadline as Friday, because I think if you're not picking a prompt until Wednesday, you might need a couple days to get the pre-writing done. But you have to do this and timestamp it before you open up your college essay working draft and start actually typing out your thoughts. So that brings me back to, I'm going to get out of this. Sorry that I can't see. There's my X. I'm going to go into that actual college essay checklist. And so here you've got the electronic version of it. The sub is going to also give you a paper copy of this. This reminds you of the AI red lights that I was talking about. You don't need AI help in the beginning, but once we get farther in the revision process, then remember you've got the yellow light again there. The main difference between this paper and your maturity memoir is that this one is going to have one extra step to it. So if you look back at your maturity memoir checklist, you've only got 4 items that have to go into your Ziploc bag. Here you're going to have a minimum of 5 items in order to hit proficiency. And remember, you might have more than these items, because if you want to show an advanced level of work, you've either got to show more work or more high quality work in the ones that you do. But the new step is right here. So what's going to happen is once you guys have your rough drafts, you're actually going to sit down with me first. So I am everyone's first peer reviser, and then I'm going to require you to have another peer reviser, and then you're going to take that and have an editing draft, right? And so here's the draft that I'm going to write on. Here's the draft that you're going to make my changes that I suggest. So you're going to pass it off to a peer, at least one human. This is where if you want to bring AI in after the human has looked at it, then you have permission, as long as you're showing me your writing process. You're going to make those changes, and then you're going to have another draft where now you are slimming down into just looking for spelling, grammar, punctuation, really perfecting this. Because theoretically, this is the one piece this entire year that if you have chosen a prompt for yourself that you're going to be using, people are really judging you on your writing process, which means that your editing has to be even better on this draft than on anything else, which is why it would be wise for us to take a look really quickly at the college essay rubric. So the rubric is available to you in your Canvas stuff. This is very similar on the front page to what you had for the maturity memoir. The same rules apply for the voice. As long as you're trying and being sincere and not insulting your audience, then you're going to meet on this one. The main difference in ideas between proficiency and advanced is that a proficient draft will get the job done. You're going to fulfill the prompt accurately. But the advanced writing is going to be lively in a way that really makes you pop off the page, with all of those strategies that we learned in the maturity memoir. Show versus tell, maybe a creative use of appropriate dialogue. Like all those little things that you learn in the maturity memoir draft can be incorporated and should be incorporated here in the college essay. Everybody's prompts are different, so not everybody's prompt is necessarily narrative, but even if your prompt is not narrative, chances are you're going to have to frame it in a way that makes you come alive. So that's going to be the main difference there. If you have an essay that tries to respond to the prompt, but organizationally it sort of wanders, it doesn't all make sense, it's not super coherent, but I can tell where you're trying to attach it to the prompt, then you're going to be at this level. Hopefully I can steer you away from this problem already when we conference. So I'm not expecting many people to be from here to the end, like at all. Again, you're really trying to figure out how do you get from here up to here with all the peer revision advice that you're going to get to help you improve. If you have a prompt, but then what you do when you answer the prompt is like not related at all, and you're just basically sort of listing resume facts about yourself, then you miss the whole point of the college essay. So that's the only way that you can land in a D right there. However, I do want to draw your attention to major changes in the conventions rubric for just this paper. So for just this paper, because it is more likely to go out in front of actual human beings' eyes, the rubric is harder. But even though the rubric is harder, you have 4 more papers that come after this where the rubric relaxes again. So like even if this pulls you down for just a little bit, it's not likely that this is where your grade is going to stay at the end of the semester. But this is real life writing, and this is something that you know other people are going to be judging you on your writing skills, at least somewhat. So this part is exactly the same as the other rubric. However, I'm going to be harder on the number of mistakes that I allow, especially because you guys are with a smaller number of words. Like some of you are only writing 300 words, 500 words, 650 words at the most. So that's like 1 page, 2 pages, 2.5 pages. You should theoretically have less errors. So the mistakes here would be minor mistakes. That would give you a level 2 score. If you've got double that amount of mistakes, then you're going to get a developing score. Or if you have something that is so obviously ridiculously bad, like I have seen people misspell their own name before on this assignment. And to me, that's just not acceptable. So you would land there on developing. Your editing skills are still developing if you can't even pay attention to your own name or the name of the university or something important like that. If you start to have more than 7 errors, then you need to rethink your proofreading process particularly, because whatever steps that you used did not help you create something that's professional. And so I'm truly like this is my true advice if you end up in the level 1 column here, because whatever you're currently doing is not really helping you catch the spelling, grammar, and punctuation edits that you have. So you need to rethink what you're doing as a process. Okay, so that is the rubric. As usual, you're going to have a bunch of sample essays, and these are all the ones that you can see. Remember, there's lots more that you can't. Some of them are recent, some of them are anonymous. I've tried to, again, as much as I can, give you a mixture of essays from young men. You might not recognize their names anymore because they graduated a long time ago, but there's male essays, female essays, all sorts of interesting different topics. But I also have more. So if you want to see how somebody else did this and you have a certain topic in mind but you don't know how to address it, I can flip back through my paper binder and find you one, and then if it's already in here, I just don't have it revealed so it isn't overwhelming to everybody, I can reveal that topic or that person's name if you just want to kind of go through and see who I have. If you didn't actually read any of the maturity memoirs last time, I think you're foolish, because this repository of actual GHS student essays is the smartest thing that I can give you to help you to model yourself after. So same thing goes here. Look at how they use their words. If you want to know what an A looks like, this is it. So use that resource to your advantage. Okay, I'm trying to think here. We went through the prompt list, we went through the rubric. Let's get out of student view. How do I do that? I think it's at the bottom. And now I'm going to take you to the calendar. So remember, all the dates and deadlines are up here. So this is now where your final draft deadline is, right? Tomorrow. This is where your prompt is also due in Google Classroom for the college essay. So you've got a little bit of overlap here. So if you need to print something for the maturity memoir, go down to the library and print because you need to make that Google Doc. I've told the sub that they should write you passes and go. Otherwise, if you're done with your maturity memoir stuff, then what you're doing in class today is you're working on the college essay. So if you haven't found your prompt yet, you find your prompt. Otherwise, you do your pre-writing. Your rough drafts have to be ready here. I'm scheduling 3 days of conferencing right there. We should be done within 3 days. If not, we'll make arrangements throughout WIN class or something so that you can talk to me. You have to revise and pass it off to somebody at the very least by here, so you can make those changes and then start doing the conventions lesson here. And then your final draft for this paper will be Monday the 22nd. Then your next paper will start right away. But I'll give you that information in about 3 weeks. I told one class, but not the other. The 25th of September, Thursday the 25th, is your senior picture day. So you need to start thinking about what you're going to wear, because from here up, you need to look very nice. So you can wear jeans that day, but have on like a nice shirt. No sweatshirts, no logos. This is the picture that's going to go up on the football field for like a week before you graduate. So you do want it to be something that is more dressy and appropriate for that moment. Okay. Trying to think if I've said everything. I think we're good. You guys can email me if you want, but because of what I'm doing tomorrow, I do not guarantee I'm going to email you back. But at least I'll know what it is that you need from me before class starts. Okay? All right. Have a good day.